Hello and welcome to Spirited Debate. I'm Lauren Green. Former Congressman Frank R. Wolf and the newly created religious freedom group 21st Century Wilberforce Initiative has released a report today, or a report recently actually, entitled Edge of Extinction, based on a recent fact-finding mission to Iraq. The report warns that if the Islamic State in Iraq is not defeated and removed, Christians, Yazidis, Shabak, Turkmen, and other religious and ethnic minority groups face a looming genocide. Congressman Wolf is now the senior fellow and co-founder of the 21st Century Wilberforce Initiative and joins me now from D.C. Welcome, Congressman.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be with you. Thank you very much.
Your delegation from the Wilberforce Initiative traveled to within a mile and a half of the Islamic State's front lines. What was that like? What did you find?
Well, we found that basically genocide is taking place in that area. We are ready to see the end of Christianity in a region where Christianity began. As you know, more biblical activity took place in Iraq than any other country other than Israel. Abraham's from Iraq. Ezekiel's buried in Iraq. Daniel lived in Iraq. Daniel's buried in Iraq. Esther, for such a time like this, the 12 tribes of Israel lived in Iraq for 20 years. And we literally see the Christian community going from 1.5 million down to roughly 300,000 or even under. And the Yazidis, we met with the Yazidis and the stories of the young girls. I won't go into it, what has taken place. And yet they wonder, does anyone in the West care? They wonder, why will not people in the West speak out? Now, I've been grateful. Pope Francis has been very strong. Cardinal Dolan's been very good. Franklin Graham's been good. But overall, there's been a silence on the part of the church in the West, and there's been a silence on the part of this administration. The Peshmerga, who are defending the Christian areas, and you recall 2 months ago, they blew up Jonah's tomb. The Peshmerga are not getting any assistance from the West. And we went out with them. Their weapons are old. They're old, and yet they're fighting. And they say, why will you not give us weapons? Because we are fighting ISIS. And then we see the other day the beheading of 21 Coptic Christians because they were Christian, and yet the world just sort of is immobilized. You're talking about the Peshmerga. Is that the Nineveh Protection Unit you're talking about?
No, is that it? Or is it something else?
No, that's separate. The Peshmerga are the Kurdish military. They have lost 1,000 people. They have lost 1,000 who have died, and ISIS has captured some of them, and unfortunately, but they have old weapons, and they are fighting. They're fighting to retake back Mosul. But no, the NPU is a Christian unit who want to basically be a National Guard to defend their own villages, and they have no weapons. They have no trainers. In fact, as I think Senator Levin put language in the defense bill last year authorizing aid to them, and they're getting nothing. They're getting nothing. And yet they are on the front lines fighting ISIS, who is doing all of this. And quite frankly, it was embarrassing when the administration the other day put out a statement on the beheading of the 21 Coptic Christians. The New York Times called it beheading of Christians. The Guardian called it that way. The White House said just 21 Egyptians. They were Coptic Christian Egyptians who were killed because of their faith. So
obviously you believe that the U.S. should be funding them or aiding them in some way, these groups who are trying to defend the Christians.
Absolutely. In fact, as they told us over and over, they're all here. You know, there are 20,000 people fighting for ISIS who have come in from around the world. There are roughly 3,000 to 4,000 people from Europe who have, under the visa waiver program, can come here anytime who are fighting for ISIS. And there are 140 or more Americans who have gone over. So they said they're all here. Why, when you kill them here, destroy them here, do you want them to come back to the United States, come back to Europe, come back to Copenhagen, go places like that? And lastly, one other thing. People said they believe Jordan's next.
Well, that would be a very, very horrible thing. What would that mean if Jordan is next?
Well, I mean, I think what it would mean, it would be the beginning, and I think the king of Abdullah has used these words, it'd be the beginning of really World War III. I think for the king and to fall and the Jordanian government would be, it'd be cataclysmic.
What should people here in the United States be doing to help? Because you're talking in terms of, terrible, terrible stuff, but yet here in the United States we do feel helpless. What should we be doing here in the United States to help?
One, I think people should pray. Two, they should speak out. Three, they should urge their members of Congress and the administration to aid the Peshmerga and aid the Christian militia and help them. Lastly, there are groups on the ground who are helping the people that have been moved from village to village and are living in refugee camps, and two groups who are doing a tremendous job. One, the Dominican Sisters. They are like Mother Teresa. What they are doing is unbelievable. Another is Samaritan's Purse, Franklin Graham's group. As you know, it was Samaritan's Purse that was on the ground that sort of woke the world up on Ebola. They are over there. So you got to help the people who are living in the camps. And lastly, I think this administration has to be bold. If we do not stop ISIS in the Middle East, in Iraq and Syria, they're going to be coming to the West.
Are they already here, though? Because many people believe that they are already here in many ways.
Well, of course they are to a certain extent. The radicalization, they have some of the most sophisticated internet. They radicalized a young person from my congressional district. Chesser, if you will, was radicalized on the internet. Alakwe radicalized Major Hassan, who killed the 13 people down at Fort Hood. We see they're now in Afghanistan. We see they're now in Libya. There are places. Our embassy is gone in Somalia. Our embassy is gone in Syria. Our embassy is gone in Libya. For all practical purposes, the embassy in Baghdad is in a Shia zone with militia around it. Very difficult for the American people to leave the embassy and move through Baghdad. So you got to deal with this thing now. And I think for the administration, and quite frankly, for the Congress, if you do not speak, silence is an essence of speaking. This means you don't really care. So the nation needs to be involved and do everything they possibly can to mobilize. Otherwise, we will see the extinction of Christians and Yazidis. And we have a Holocaust museum that said never again. It is taking place right now.
I want to thank you so much. And make sure you want to check out 21wilberforce.org. Congressman Wolf, I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.